Hey, Shalom, Shalom. Once again, this is Naaman from DC camp. First and foremost, call hello Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Rakar double honors again. Go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders, a great millstone, who continue through the Holy Spirit to give us His truth. Salutations also go out to the fellow Akim around the four corners of this world, pushing this truth on honesty and sincerity, while trying to wake up the remaining hopeful elect. Hey, time's growing short. Got to get it while you can get it. Of course, all we can do is give you the scriptures, push the prophecies. All right, it's up to the Holy Spirit to work with you, like the scripture goes. All we can do is plant and water the increase that has to be provided through Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. All right, anyway, from Fox News, Nikole Hannah-Jones. They just love her there at Fox News. Anyway, as the title reads, it says, she slams the U.S. being one of the most unequal societies in the history of the world. Is she wrong? No, she's not. But again, they've always had issue with this 1619 project, so-called. And this is what prompted the response about the critical race theory. And we know it's not theory, it's fact. All right? So, they constantly play these mind games because, we being a people under curses, all right, and they know it. You got to understand, a lot of our people a majority of our people this day don't realize this whole thing was set up. The so-called Jews were responsible for the slave trade. They knew through their research. You got to remember, these people are converts. This goes back as far as John Hyrcanus at the end of the Maccabees. All right, this is before the first Roman triumvirate. All right, we're talking about around 65 BC. We're talking about right before the end. This is the time of John Hyrcanus, where Edom, so-called white people as they call themselves today, were forcefully converted to what is now Judaism. And then you fast forward roughly 750 years later, or thereabouts. Actually, I say 800 years. And then it happened again. They made a choice. So you got to understand what people don't realize. Down through the generations, things are taught. In other words, word of mouth. So did this is a whole nother video, but did this Khazarian king just magically just say, nah, we want to, I think we'll choose Judaism when that opportunity presented itself? No, he had some background on that. All right, you got to understand, this is about a birthright that was sold by these people, and they want it back. This is what this is all about. But anyway, as concerning this, this is a continuation of all that. This is why we are treated the way we are treated, not because we are black. It doesn't even make any sense. I've never seen a black person in my life, nor have I seen a white person. You gotta understand the game that's being played here. Anyway, here we go. It says New York Times Magazine 1619 Project founder Nikole Hannah-Jones slammed modern American society Tuesday for being one of the most unequal in all of history. Hannah-Jones spoke at an Arlington Reed's signature author event for the Arlington Public Library in Virginia, just right across the river. I'm here in DC. The event page invited the public, join us for a lecture by author Nikole Hannah-Jones about her book, The 1619 Project, and the freedom to read, noting it was part of the Arlington Public Library celebration of Banned Books Week. While the lecture was live streamed for remote viewers in the event page, there will be no recording. A brief clip from her speech was posted online Tuesday night that showed her bashing American exceptionalism. There goes that word, exceptionalism. That pride, that excessive pride It says, because the truth is we are exceptional, just in many ways that we should be ashamed. And this is a fact. We are one of the most unequal societies in the history of the world, she said in the clip. It says, this only makes sense if you know nothing about the history of the world or contemporary America. This is the response that this guy, Rich Lowry, said. All right, what are you talking about? Let's play a little clip here.
Because the truth is we are exceptional, just in many ways that we should be ashamed. And this is a fact. We are one of the most unequal societies in the history of the world. Because the truth is we are exceptional, just in many ways that we should be ashamed.
Yes, it's going to repeat, you know. And here goes some asshole, Wissam Issa, says the black millionaire. Donna Sink, you say that like you think there's a problem with black people being millionaires. Look at yourself. Is that what you meant? Let's see some other replies. Blow me. Hope that clears things up for you. That's what Wissam countered with. Alright, let's see. Here comes this Black Lives Matter shit. It says Black Lives Matter given even a single penny. Why don't you ask George Soros about that, you asshole? Just got caught up in reading that Salakia. There's some interesting things going on. But in any case, let's go back to this. Let's see. All right, here we go. So, continuing on. It says, author and history professor Craig Bruce Smith made a similar demand for actual historical comparison. It says, by historical standards or journalism standards, he asked. It says, there is no plausible metric by which this is true, tweeted National Review senior writer Dan McLaughlin. She's not good at history, writes another. What the fuck are they talking about? The event page also made the distinction that while this event is taking place at Washington Liberty High School, Arlington Public Schools is not involved in the planning or hosting of this event. All this simply because we're telling what actually happened to our people. And now, because all this, all this shame is being brought to their doorstep, which rightfully so, as it should, now they're embarrassed about it. This is Habakkuk 2, and just started 2, and it says, and the Most High Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. And the fact that all these things that we've at Great Millstone and other Israelite camps, not the so-called black church, has said over the decades is coming true. I mean, these prophecies are leaping off the pages of the Bible. All right. And it's becoming more and more apparent, or it should, that we are in dire times. This is what we're trying to get our people prepared for, because the time of Jacob's trouble is coming. But all this history, all the evil, wicked shit that these people have perpetrated upon our people, It's coming out now. All right. No one was treated like our people here in America, and this whole system throughout wherever our people were. You know. So now they're coming out with these little quips like these idiots down here. Well, what is she talking about? It makes sense only if you know nothing about the history of the world. That's what we're doing. We're bringing out the history. All right? And it's a shame to them, as it says further down in Habakkuk's 2nd chapter. All right? This is that shame in verse 16. It says, thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Most High Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Lamentations 4th chapter. All right, verses 20 and 21. This is what's happening. We're having a change of worlds. All right. Deuteronomy 30 and 7, these curses that were put on us are starting to be put on them now. They don't like that. Because that's the history of these people. They don't handle adversity very well. The whole story of Jacob and Esau, all right? That's it. But I wanted to refer you to something else here. Let's see. And that is, remember I said about we being treated totally fucked up by America? Let's get some, since he was talking about you don't know the history, but that idiot, this is purehistory.org. All right, United States slavery laws and restrictions ever since we were here. This is 1619. All right, it says legal, it says give you the year, the far left column. The middle column, legal and social restrictions in southern states. Purpose of restriction is the last column. 1619 Maryland segregation policy recommended that black be socially excluded. 1642 Virginia fugitive law authorized branding, all right, of a slave in the face of runaway, authorized branding in the face of runaway slaves. 1686 Carolina trade law barred blacks from all trades. 1691 Virginia marriage law prescribed banishment for any white woman marrying a black. A little jealous. 1710 they left out 1705, the manumission acts and all that, black code. Anyway, Virginia public office law prohibited blacks from holding or assuming any public office. You see here, 1712, South Carolina Fugitive Slave Act criminalized runaway slaves to protect owners' investment. 1715, North Carolina anti-interracial forbade and criminalized black and white marriages. 1717, South Carolina anti-interracial marriage law forbade and criminalized black and white marriages. 1723, Virginia weapons law forbade blacks from keeping weapons. Couldn't even defend ourselves. 1740, South Carolina Consolidated Slave Act forbade slaves from raising or owning farm animals. 1775, Virginia runaway law allowed sale or execution of slaves attempting to flee. 1775, North Carolina manumission law forbade freeing slaves except for meritorious services. 1790, first naturalization law, Congress declares United States a white nation. Congress declared United States a so-called white nation. 1792, federal militia law restricted peacetime military enrollment to whites only. Remember, this so-called white thing, all right, didn't come about till the late 16, around this time here, where the Carolina trade law, all right, this decade here, the 1680s. All right, continuing on. Let's see, where did I leave off? forbade slaves from raising or owning. It says a Virginia runaway law allowed sale or execution of slaves attempting to flee. North Carolina managed. Let's see. 1790, first naturalization law. Congress declared the United States a white nation. 92, federal militia law restricted peacetime military enrollment to whites only. Fugitive slave law. 1793, discouraged slaves from running away, protected owners, invested capital. 1793, Virginia migration forbade free blacks from entering the state. So if you were free and you were one of us, you couldn't even enter the state. 1806, Louisiana, oh my goodness, migration law forbade immigration for free black males over 15 years old. 1809, congressional mail law excluded blacks from carrying U.S. mail. So this has all been about excluding us, exempting us. All right, so she's right. What is this idiot, or these idiots, all right, that argue? What are they talking about? Again, shame. All right, they would like you to forget. And isn't it funny that we're the only ones that this is pushed on? Just forget about what happened to you. Just move on. And yet every year we got to hear about that bullshit so-called Holocaust. When we are the real Hebrew Israelites. Anyway, 1811, Kentucky conspiracy law made conspiracy among slaves a capital offense, meaning punishable by death. 1813, Virginia poll tax exacted a $1.50 tax on blacks who were forbidden to vote. You can read the rest of this, but I want to skip on down because a lot of you say, well, it was different in the North. In the North, you could have a life. Nope. Legal and social restrictions in northern states. 1660, Connecticut military law barred blacks from military service. 1664, Maryland marriage law enactment of the first anti-interracial marriage statute. 1667, British Plantation Act established codes of conduct for slaves and slave owners. Massachusetts anti-miscegenation law, of course, criminalized interracial marriages. New York runaway law, 1721, prescribed execution for recaptured runaway slaves. 1722, Pennsylvania anti-miscegenation law criminalized interracial marriages there. And let's see, skip on down. 1804, Ohio mobility law enacted black laws that restricted blacks' movement. All right. 1805, Maryland licensure law forbade blacks from selling tobacco or corn without a license. 1807, Maryland residence law limited residents of entering free blacks to 2 weeks. We don't want you to, encourage the slaves to, want their freedom. Nah, we don't want you to see. We don't want them to see you. Man, this place. Ooh. 1810, Delaware migration law forbade migration of blacks, levied $10 per week fine. Oh man. 1811, Connecticut voting law disenfranchised black voters. 1821, where I am, District of Columbia registration law required blacks to register annually and post bond. 1827, Maryland Occupation Acts, petition to legislature, prohibit blacks from driving or owning hacks, carts, or drays. Let's skip on down. You got Indiana, another District of Columbia. 1836, District of Columbia business license law prohibited licensing blacks for profit-making activities. Doesn't say that about any other so-called minority or ethnicity. Well, it was the times, motherfuckers, man. It says 1842 in Maryland again. Information law felonied blacks demanding or receiving abolition newspapers. Mm. 1844, Maryland color tax, placed or tax on all employed black artisans. 1858, Maryland recreation law, forbade blacks and slaves from boating on the Potomac. Wow. Just wow. And yet, our people want to stay here. Our people want to stay here. In captivity. So is Nikole, Hannah Nikole, is she right? Yeah, she's right. All right, but this is nothing that we haven't been telling you and that you shouldn't already know if you have half a brain. Damn shame. This place was never meant for us. This is punishment. We were never meant to enjoy ourselves here, and this is something that we keep beating or trying to beat over the heads of our people to get in their fucking head. This is punishment. All right? Oh. Listen to these people that live, or this is just, a lot of people just what they call cognitive dissonance. Whoop, chew, tum, about whatever. It says, you have it wrong, ma'am. Our country is very equal. It's also very free, meaning people are free to make their own life choices, whether it be good or bad. More of this bullshit. Payman says equal opportunity does not mean equal outcome. What you do with your opportunity is your choice. This is called gaslighting. It's called racial, to be more precise. Racial gaslighting. Let's look that up. Let's go. Racial gaslighting. Definition examples. The term gaslighting, as you might know, refers to a particular type of emotional abuse where someone is made to question the validity of their experiences, feelings, and beliefs. And that's just what they're doing right there in those comments. When this form of manipulation is used specifically to undermine or minimize someone's experiences of racism, it's called racial gaslighting. Racial gaslighting mostly affects people of color. All right. One of the earliest mentions of racial gaslighting occurs in a 2016 research paper by Professor Angelique Davis and Dr. Rose Ernst. This study highlighted the ways individual acts of racial gaslighting can contribute to white supremacy at large. Racial gaslighting can be intentional or unintentional. It says, but regardless of whether someone actually intends this manipulation or not, racial gaslighting can still lead to mental and emotional harm. Learning to identify it when it happens can help you handle it more effectively. Here's how to recognize racial gaslighting and what to do about it. Racial gaslighting is unfortunately very prevalent. All right. It says it happens in the education and healthcare systems, at workplaces, and in the mainstream media. The spectrum of racial gaslighting can range from direct statements like, not everything has to be about race. We've all heard that, right? To subtle comments like, are you sure that's what really happened? All right. A few examples of racial gaslighting in various contexts. At school, if a teacher attempts to undermine the ongoing impact of racism, that could be considered racial gaslighting. All right. For example, they might say something like, yes, slavery happened, but that's in the past. Or we shouldn't focus on just the faults of problematic historical figure. You fill in the blank. In the workplace, say one of your colleagues repeatedly calls two Asian American employees by each other's names. When you call this out, your colleague says, I don't mean to be rude, it's just because they look so much alike. This response shifts the conversation to your colleague's intention, not the impact of the microaggression, an indirect or subtle discriminatory slight against members of a marginalized group. In short, Lyons says they miss the point that these interactions can have severe emotional and professional consequences. Cargill offers another example to consider: a coworker who dismisses your experience with racism by saying something like, stop playing the race card. Something we've all, at some point in our lives, have heard. With friends and loved ones, maybe your partner makes a racially insensitive comment and you confront them about it, pointing out why the remark is problematic. They say, don't be so sensitive, it was just a joke. That also counts as racial gaslighting. Racial gaslighting can also show up in friendships. It says, you have a friend who says things like, I don't see color. This misguided attitude minimizes and dismisses the racism, discrimination, and microaggressions people of color face on a regular basis. In law enforcement and society at large, video footage of George Floyd's death clearly shows a white police officer kneeling on Floyd's neck for over 9 minutes while he pleaded about breathing difficulties. However, officials initially claimed his death was an accident. This contradicted what we had watched. It's a clear example of a situation where reality was dismissed in the context of race. Another example of racial gaslighting, the All Lives Matter movement. This racist rebuttal to the Black Lives Matter movement effectively dismisses the issue of racism, even prompting some Black Lives Matter supporters to reconsider their beliefs. What's the impact? Racial gaslighting can negatively affect your physical and mental health, not to mention your self of identity, safety, and self-worth. And that's the purpose of it. All right, we're getting attacked at all angles. This is why our stress levels are above everyone else's. That's why we're subject to, look at the food, we're being attacked from everywhere. The medicines or lack thereof. All right, this is a place of punishment for us. This is our hell, all right, in the literal sense. All right, no one else is going through this. All right, these curses apply to us. They stick, they cleave to us. All right, and it says that as a sign. Let's go to that real quick. It's Deuteronomy 28. I think this, let's see, 37. Hold on. Yeah, okay, we'll start here. It says, Deuteronomy 28:37, and thou shalt become an astonishment. All right, a proverb and a byword. You notice also this is game they're playing with the George Floyd. Every time they always want to reference him. That's a ploy too. All right. Among all nations, whether the Most High shall lead thee. All right, let's skip on down. Let's start at 43. The stranger that is within thee, all these immigrants, all these foreigners coming in, shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. They're all opening up stores in our neighborhood. This is by design too. All right, feeding us as poison in the case of these restaurants, these carryouts, stuff like that. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not to the voice of the Most High Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And if you started 28:1 on down through 15, it gives us an example of what would happen if we obeyed the Most High's law, statutes, commandments, all right, and diligently, all right, followed, took heed. And then from 15 on down, it tells you this is what happened if we do not. And from 16 to 68 it's all about us. All right. It says, and they shall be upon thee, this is my point, verse 46, and they shall be, these curses shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, our descendants. All right. Why? Because, verse 47, because thou servest not the Most High Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Most High Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. We got to go to this motherfucker for everything. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. There you go. This is why we're subjected to bullshit like this. Cause and effect. Simple as that. Hey, so with that, once again, originally, this was about an article that Fox News, of all people, about Nikole Hannah-Jones' 1619 project. You know, you get all these fucking comments down here like they don't know what the fuck is going on. Here goes one down here. I was passed over 40 years because of the color of my skin. Why? See? So they're trying to flip shit because of the shame. It ain't gonna work. So here it is, the original article. New York Times, Nikole Hannah-Jones slams U.S. as one of the most unequal societies in the history of the world. She's absolutely correct. So with that, until the next video, hey, shalom.